Hey, what's good, y'all? I hope y'all are doing well. Listen, today we're going to be talking about my first competition that I entered, my first competition build that you see here. There's also another kit that I'll be talking about and kind of what I learned about it. So let's get into it. If you're new to the channel, we appreciate you guys for stopping by, and I hope you guys get something really valuable out of what we're going to be talking about today. So as mentioned in the title, this is my first competition that I've ever entered, and one of the reasons why I wanted to get into the competition is because there is not really a community of people out here in regards to building Gundam model kits. Model kits, yes, but not Gundam model kits. And so what I was doing is I was actually putting up flyers in local hobby shops. And one of the flyers that I was putting up in my local hobby shop, they were saying, hey, there's a competition coming up. That might be another place where you can meet other builders and or just get the word out about what it is that you're doing. And so they let me put up one of the flyers, which was dope. And then I also started prepping for that competition. And that was about a month out. Now, this competition was held by IPMS, or International Plastic Modelers Society. I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the lead guys over there who kind of runs the club or runs the society in my local area, and got a little bit more information about the competition in order to prepare for it. So the first thing that I want to share is the preparation for the competition. I think that one of the biggest things that was helpful whenever I was preparing for the competition was actually just getting as much information as possible, right? Where is it going to be at? Obviously, because you want to submit your kit. What category am I submitting it in? Obviously, this is going to be Gundam, and I think it was Gundam, sci-fi, and other stuff. Other things in that category. And then I also wanted to know how they were going to be judging. So I did reach out to Mike, the guy that was, overseeing the society, and I asked him about the judging. And then he pointed me to the website where they gave a breakdown of what the judges are going to be looking for. So one of the things that I would encourage you to do is figure out who's hosting the competition and then figuring out how the judges are going to judge. What's the criteria? What are they looking for? So that way, whenever you're ready to submit your kit, or you're working on your kit, you know what it is that you're getting yourself into, or what you want to do. So back to kind of like how I found out about this competition, the point was to get in front of other builders, and it was to see if there were other, builders who build Gunpla or Gundam model kits. And that was the primary focus on why I wanted to enter. Meet people, network, connect, and then see about growing that community of builders out here. And so that's why I entered. So now let's talk about the build. The build, I actually chose the Gundam Dynames, and this build I built a year prior. I didn't have too much time. There was another kit that I wanted to submit that I wanted to work on. So this was my secondary kit that I chose, and partially because it was already built. Again, I just wanted to get in front of people. I wanted to meet other people, and so I figured this was another cool way to kind of display multiple kits and have my name on it, right? I'm just going to break down the Gundam Dynames real quick. So it's a straight build, as you can see here. Custom paint job, all hand painted. And it is like an OD green or an olive drab green that I chose. I was going for a militaristic type of look. And one of the biggest things that I could pass on as far as a tip is concerned that I learned from actual tutorials on weathering and dioramas and stuff like that was figuring out what the story is that you're going to be telling with your kit. And so I knew that I wanted this guy, the Gundam Dynames, to be somewhat lost on some sort of like desert planet. That's kind of what you see here. But some of the weathering, which I'll cut to close shots of, I wanted him to be kind of stranded on this desert planet. I live in the desert, so it's kind of familiar to kind of pull inspiration from, and that he was kind of wandering this planet alone, trying to find his way back home. I know, sad story. And that's where I got the idea or the theme. So I painted him this military OD green or olive drab, and then I did a custom camo on him. It was originally going to be digital camo, and I know that it's a little bit far right now from the camera, but I ended up using kind of like a napkin print and just did several layers of different colors on top of that olive drab, and that's where I got that camo look from. And then the weathering obviously is going to match the desert, which I'll do a close-up of that as well. But as you can see on his legs, he's got like brown popping in. Some of his armor's faded or worn. And then let's go ahead and do it this way. And I think it actually came out really dope. You know what I mean? So I wanted to make sure that there were some desert elements that are also weathered on the kit as well, right? To show that he's there. You know what I mean? That's absolutely important. I don't want to put two different colors on the kit because then it's two different colors. It's not consistent. It doesn't make any sense. So that's essentially the paint job. The decals are sticker decals, and I didn't, again, I built this a year ago. I didn't, erase any seam lines or anything like that, or blend any seam lines. I don't know what the correct term is. I'm new to this thing, so, but I didn't really do the seam line thing. Just straight build, paint, weathered. That's pretty much it. That's what you see here. Whenever I decided to get into the competition, there are several changes that I made. Now, the kit was just the kit itself and alone, and so I decided to do a small diorama to show that he's on a desert planet, and that's what you see here. At first, it was just this part. So I'll do a close-up of this as well, but it was just like the gravel, the rock, and all of this was foam board that I kind of chopped up and then plastered. What do you call, it's like a wall putty, you know what I mean? That it's like a spackle that you use to cover holes in the wall. I used that on top of it, let that dry, spray painted it, did a rattle can spray paint, like a brown. The first layer was brown, the second layer was like a lighter tan, and another one was like a sand. And then all these other ground elements or sand elements I got, obviously, because I'm in the desert, I got, in a dirt road, essentially. And it was just this diorama, and he was just placed on there. And then the other addition was a scarf. So the scarf is actually a Moon Knight action figure scarf that I got online. And essentially what I did, I thought it'd be dope if he was just like walking stoically, you know what I'm saying? Like through the desert. And, his scarf is kind of blowing in this wind. The theme for the competition that we were entering this guy in was Red Storm Rising. And so I wanted to tie in some sort of red into this. Obviously, you have these little accent colors here, but I figured I'd throw in the scarf to kind of, show that. And then I also kind of wrote it in the description of the submission as well. So the scarf is a Moon Knight scarf, bendable wire. It was actually white. I was using it for another project, but because this one was coming up, I figured I'd try my hand at kind of make it my own. And so what I did is I cut it to size, primered it, painted it, weathered it, burned it. So if you can see like the burn marks on the ends, I actually took a lighter to it and burned all the ends. And then this is what you got here. So, I think he looks dope. And so we got this chip right here that says, you blew our minds with your model. And I think it's something similar to like an honorable mention, which is really dope. So it's like one of the first kits that we've entered into a competition, our first competition, and we got something like this. And so now let's talk about the experience, the purpose of it, which was to meet other builders, which we did. We had, and when I say we, I mean you too, you know what I mean? Because you guys are coming along for the ride. But we did have an opportunity to meet other builders, great people, dope dudes that also submitted in the same category. Absolutely nuts at their craft. Been in the game for, years and years and years. And it was really cool to be able to chop it up with them, learn more about different techniques, things like that. And it was also cool because it was an IPMS competition. There were other kits out there like helicopters and, tanks and airplane carriers. So the skill in modeling was outside of Gunpla modeling, right? And I think that was an important component because if I'm looking at somebody else's work that's doing something in a different, context or in a different lean, then they're going to be using different techniques that I'm not even thinking about that I can use for the Gunpla builds. You know what I'm saying? And that's exactly what I did for a competition that was scheduled 2 weeks after. So with meeting other builders and other people who were submitting their work, it was dope because I did have a chance to meet other Gundam model builders, which was cool because we ended up like following each other on Instagram. We already followed each other apparently, and we met actually in person, which was dope. And then we go to this next competition, which I'll talk about later, 2 weeks later. So that was really cool. One of the great things, or something that I think that is important, is ask the judges what they think. Now, obviously not during the judging, you know what I'm saying? But I did have an opportunity to speak with one of the judges after the competition was over. And I just asked him about my kit. What does he think about my kit? What could I have done better? What do I need to look for in the next one? And he was very helpful with giving me some tips, you know what I'm saying? And things to keep in mind whenever working on builds and submitting them in for competitions. So as I mentioned, this diorama was just desert. And I actually just sat the Dynames on the diorama. That was it. And one of the things that he told me was the Dynames the weight of the Dynames is actually going to be sinking into the ground. And so there's no indication at the time to know that the Dynames is like in the ground. So he's like, what I would suggest you do is kind of make him implanted into the ground so it looks like he's actually stepping. And I was like, that's a dope idea. You know what I'm saying? So I took that with me in this kind of revision. And then I made some trails. This wasn't, oh, sorry, you can't see. This wasn't here. So I took trails from here to where he's stepping to make it look like he had walked through this like swampy mud type of deal. He did talk to me about seam lines, which I already knew. I just, obviously, because this kit was built a year ago, shout out to Danger Son in the background. Because this kit was born, that's my son. This kit was done a year ago. You know, obviously I didn't have time to like go back and remove the seam lines. So I knew that I wasn't really going to touch that, but he did give me some pointers. He was like, yeah, remove the seam lines, etc. He also talked about a technique whenever you're blending in the decals on the kit. So these are sticker decals, and obviously whenever you get close, you can see the outline of those sticker decals. There is a technique that you can use to kind of flatten out those decals so they don't look as noticeable. But I've watched those tutorials, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna be doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, your boy's not gonna be doing that. I'm gonna be doing water slide decals, point blank. That's it. Like, that's where I'm moving. That's where I've been moving for about, you know, almost a year now. So all in all, we had a great experience. We learned tons. We met builders. We knew what we needed to do for the next competition and what we were going to be doing moving forward. And so that's what we did. 2 weeks later, there was going to be another competition that I was going to be entering this guy in, and I made some changes. Now, we won't go too far into this because, as I mentioned in the beginning, one of the tips that I would encourage you to do is look at what they're going to be judging on, and seam lines was definitely one of them. So one of the things inside the judges, how they were going to be judging was they were going to be looking at seam lines, and if you had too many exposed seam lines, then they're not even going to count your Gunpla as done. Which I read it and I was like, that's fine. That's okay. Again, the purpose was to go out and meet builders. The IPMS competition that we went to, that we submitted this guy in, there were builders. The Gunpla scene was not as big. This competition that we were going to 2 weeks later, now that one is huge. It's multiple categories. It's absolutely wild. And so we knew that we were going to be in front of more creators, more, Gunpla model kit, customizers, etc. And so I didn't even care about that. I was just going to enter them in because I had been sharing all my stories on Instagram and had gotten a lot of encouragement, and I showed people the build up until that point. So I wanted to bring the kit so they can see it in person. So the only thing that I did in preparation for that competition, which was SCGMC, I think it's like Southern California Gundam Modeling Competition or Contest or something like that. I don't really know. The only thing that I did, I'll take this guy off real quick. The only thing that I did was I added these pieces right here. So I went from a desert, scape to wanting to create something more alien-like. And so I created this kind of like organic shrubbery, which was made out of hot glue. Laid it on the table, picked it up, kind of bent it, to kind of flow with his cape like that way, and dipped it in a yellow translucent or clear yellow paint. So I got that. And then the other addition was this cannon right here. This actually is coming from the HG Blue Astray frame Gundam. This is his bazooka. I cut it down to be a telephone spire or some sort of transmitting spire. And then I put lichen to kind of go throughout here, indicating that, it had been knocked down for a while and this organic matter was kind of overtaking it. And there's like a little, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like a little fence here that's blowing in the wind too. And then the last thing I did was I added a mudding kind of swampy thing. And then this from my tackle box, if you can see it. But this mud or swamp, added that to leave the trails so you knew that the Gundam Dynames was walking through it. And then hit it with a clear coat of, I believe it's like resin, AK resin. I can't remember. And then this right here is from my tackle box. So this is a lure for my tackle box that I cut into pieces to look like a kind of like a creature that's swimming in this swampy thing. Oh, and then the last thing right here, the stand. So one of my buddies told me that if I'm submitting this kit, this is going along with those the judges, guidelines or how they're going to be judging. This was originally black. They said if I could to go ahead and paint this similar to what the diorama is going to be looking like, because most judges, if this is just plain, they're going to knock points off because they want it to kind of fall in with the whole diorama. So I went ahead and I painted that as well. All right, y'all. Other than that, that's our first competition. This is the first kit that we've ever entered into a competition. Our purpose was to meet other builders. We did. Our purpose was to learn more. We did. And we moved on to the next competition. And it definitely has me excited about learning more, not just about the customizing space and the building space and really harnessing in on those skills or locking in on those skills, but also just growing in community. You know what I mean? I met tons of dope people at both of these competitions. And I think that is the most important thing for me, being new to this hobby. So yeah, definitely learning, definitely growing, and super excited about the next one. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, go ahead and hit that like button. If you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. I hope that you learned something with your boy, you know what I'm saying? And you enjoyed the journey. If you would like to see more, I obviously post more story content on my Instagram page, so definitely make sure that you follow that. Yeah, but not bad. Super happy. We got this chip and we met dope people. So until the next one, I'll see you on the next one.